Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your boy SimplyFoodByTy, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make baked spaghetti. Really simple, something new, kind of switch things up. So what you're looking at right now is about 2.5 to 3 pounds of ground turkey. You can use whatever type of ground meat you would like. And of course, I'm adding in my very own seasonal salt, which will be coming to you soon. So don't worry. Until then, you can use whatever type of seasonal salt that you have available. Now, I'm also going to be adding in roughly about 2 tablespoons of onion powder, as well as about 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. Now, if you're going to be using ground turkey, this is the thing. You definitely want to make sure, you guys, that you are heavily seasoning it, because to me, ground turkey can be very, very bland, and ain't nobody got time for that. You know what I mean? So what you want to do is, of course, just break it up. Now, ground turkey sometimes can let off a lot of water. So if it does, in fact, start to do that, just keep an eye on it and try to drain some of that water out so that the meat can really crisp up and really get nice and browned. Also, I will say, because it also contains a lot of water, you'll want to try your hardest to not overcrowd the pan. I know it might look like my pan is overcrowded, but because this is a Dutch oven, it really, really retains heat, so I'll be okay. But just, keep that in mind. Since we're using ground turkey, we're going to be adding in a few other ingredients just to kick it up in flavor. So what I'm using right now is just a smoked Polish kielbasa. I'm going to be using the entire pack. Now, the way I'm going to prepare it is completely different and how you might like to prepare it. Now, because this is a particular sauce that I'm going to be cooking for about an hour or two, I'm not going to be frying these off. Typically I like to have that little brown char on mine, but because I'm going to be cooking this for so long, I'm not really going to get fixated on that. I'm just going to cut them down into small chunks. Now, if you really don't want to be biting into pieces this big, by all means, you can completely mince it and, get really, really fine dices of it. But that's completely up to you. And as always, if you are not a pork person, if you don't eat pork, you can use beef, or you don't have to use sausages at all. You know what I mean? You can just use the ground turkey. That's completely fine. Don't feel like you have to use this. This is just what I do to make a meal that can, feed anywhere between 7 to 8 people. We're in a rough time in the country at the moment. So, you want to try to make meals that can last you for a couple of days. And that's also inexpensive to make. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to put that to the side for a second. And now that our ground turkey is all done, what we're going to do is we're going to go on ahead and start adding in the sausages. Now, like I said, if you want, because you prefer to see the brown char on them, you can completely cook them separately and then add them in. But because I'm cooking this sauce for about 2 hours, I just kind of think it's an unnecessary step. So just, keep that in mind. Now, because, me being me and I like to do things a little bit on the extra side, I also like to add in miniature pepperonis. Once again, if you cannot have pork, don't add pork. You can use turkey, tofurkey pepperonis, or, whatever you would like. Just give that a mix around. Now, I'm going to be adding in 2 jars of the meat-flavored ragu. Now, you guys know, typically, I like to just get stewed tomatoes and make my own sauce. But once again, this is one of those type of recipes where if you are on a budget, you can buy these jar sauces and turn it into something divine. You just have to know how to add certain stuff to it to kind of kick up the flavor. So like I said, I've added in 2 jars and about 2.5 to 3 pounds of the ground turkey, the package of the sausage, and also the pepperonis. Now, as you guys will be able to see in a few moments, the texture of this is going to be very, very thick, and that's exactly how I want it. I do not want this to be a loose meat sauce here. I wouldn't dare call this a bolognese sauce because it's definitely not, but you want to think along the lines of that. You want to think along the lines of a meat ragu. You want it to be nice and hearty, nice and thick, not too runny. If you are a person that likes yours a little bit on the sweeter side, and, do what you got to do. Add your sugar to it. I'm not too keen on that, so I tend to not really add a lot of extra sweetness to my sauce. If you're one where you really like a more pungent tomato flavor, add yourself in some tomato paste. You're going to put the top on that and let that go, you guys, for about 3 hours on very, very low. Now that that has been cooking on low for about 3 hours, I'm going to add in roughly about a cup and a half of shredded Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. That'll add a little bit of a saltiness to it, a little bit of nuttiness to it, but it really does step up the game. And once again, the best thing about this is that because we cook this for so long on a slow temperature, you know, that raw tomato we taste has been cooked out, the sausages have been fully cooked through, the ground turkey, which sometimes can be dried out, has completely filled with moisture. Now, I'm going to be using thin pasta. I would advise using thin pasta for this particular recipe. You're just going to mix it all in the one pot first. Now, you might be thinking, oh, this looks like this is going to be really dry, or whatever the case is. Kind of think of this recipe kind of along the lines of like a baked ziti. You don't really want it to be very wet. Now, the only reason why I'm baking it is just because, you know, sometimes I like to have, you know, that extra layer of like the browned cheese, or, you know, whatever the case is. But I can't call this a lasagna because, you know, I'm not adding ricotta, and, you know, I'm not using, you know, thicker noodles. So that's why I just like to call it a baked spaghetti. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's different. The kids will think that you're giving them something brand new that they've never had before. Once again, this can feed an entire family. That was just one box of noodles, and you guys can see how much this has made. So now we're going to start the layering process. Make sure, of course, you guys are using a baking dish that can, of course, go in the oven. Someone asked me about that, so I just felt like I needed to say it out loud. Now we're going to start a little bit of a layering process. I'm going to be putting fresh shredded mozzarella cheese. I think I used Kraft or some brand. I don't know. Sargento or something. And that's mozzarella cheese that I used. And I'm just going to keep layering it up. And then I also use some of the cheddar cheese as well. And that's pretty much it. We're just going to continue to repeat this process over and over and over. Now, I want you guys to make sure that you have your oven preheated at 350 degrees because you're going to pop this in the oven, I would say probably for about 30 to 40 minutes. You know, pretty much everything is already fully cooked, especially the meat and the sauce. I would definitely say so that you don't end up with really mushy and nasty pasta. Only cook this thin pasta al dente. First of all, it's thin pasta, so it's not going to take long to cook anyway. So if I were you, I would only put it in the boiling water just to kind of loosen it up, and then I would take it out. There's going to be more than enough moisture from the cheese and the sauce that's going to finish this off in the oven. Because I tell you, if you put, you know, if you overcook thin noodles and then put them in the oven, it's just going to turn into a mess. So I've just topped it with a little bit more of the mozzarella cheese and the cheddar. And baby, I'm going to pop this into the oven, like I said, at 350 degrees for roughly about 35 to 40 minutes. And that's pretty much it. You can top it with some parsley, but that's it, you guys. It comes out of the oven looking gorgeous. Do you hear me? Gorgeous. It is so delicious. It's so easy. It's so fun. Look, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, y'all babies stay cute and take care. Bye, guys. Enjoy.
Slaying in the kitchen.
Simply Food by TY.
We hope that you enjoyed it.
Simply Food by TY. If you haven't took the time, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Simply Food.